Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our machine learning seminar. Today, we'll have a pleasure to listen to a presentation of Lorella Viola from the Luxembourg Center for Contemporary and Digital History at the University of Luxembourg. And Lorella, if you could share the presentation with us already, this would be very helpful. And the topic of the presentation is the problem with GPT for the humanities and for humanity.
Yes.
That's the title. So Lorella, just give us the outline and the virtual floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Okay, great. So first of all, I would like to thank Jakub for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here. I have attended in the past some of the seminars in this seminar series, and I always found them really interesting. Although I just want to say this right away. So I'm not a computer scientist. I'm not a machine learning person. All the things that I know about programming, which admittedly it's not much, they're all self-taught. So yes, I've taken courses here and there, but mostly it's just I'm not a machine learning person as such. So the point of me being here is really to talk about how the challenges, in a way, that from somebody from the humanities with some understanding and knowledge of machine learning tools and how the technology works, how these challenges are faced in the humanities. And I think this might be, as I was saying earlier, interesting also to share with this audience in particular, because more and more in the humanities, we are in fact using these tools, so tools that are developed in the computer scientists, and we take them and we use them and we try to adapt them. But of course, the challenges that we face are rather different, I think, than the challenges that the people that devised this technology encountered. So this nice exchange, I think, can be potentially very fruitful for both of us. And today I'm talking about this problem in particular with GPT from my point of view, my experience of working with this technology, my experience as a linguist, because this is my background. So I will just extremely quickly just to give a very superficial overview of language models in GPT, because my understanding is that everybody is interested in these technologies here, but not everybody have used them in particular, or not everybody has an NLP perhaps background in this audience. So there is no obviously any sort of assumption made. So I will just very quickly talk about this, and then I will talk about how GPT in fact is used in the humanities more and more.
Can you decipher this GPT acronym?
Yes, I will in a second. Yeah. And then I will talk about the research question, particularly in my research, the challenges that I have encountered, and then hopefully my open questions for you, for the audience. So this will not be a super long presentation, because I'm actually interested in what you have to say about it. All right, so a language model, very loosely defined, is just a probability distribution over sequences of words. The theory behind how these models are built is based on a very famous semantic linguistic theory, distributional semantic theory, which was devised in 1957 by this very famous semanticist, Firth. And this, you may have heard about this sentence. It's been quoted many times. So obviously at the time there were no big language sources or data at all. So really Firth came up with this natural intuition just by observing how languages work and how people use languages. And he said, "You shall know a word by the company it keeps." What he meant by that was that words, he had the intuition that words that occur typically together or in same context tend to purport similar meanings. And this intuition, which today, of course, to us sound quite straightforward, at the time was really groundbreaking. Because the typical traditional generative grammar and linguistics theories at the time thought that meanings do exist in isolations and can be attached to words regardless of the context. So this was rather groundbreaking at the time. Of course, because at the time there were no language models available, there were no possibility to train anything, the technology was simply not there, not where the data. This theory was just there, but could never be actually substantiated by any evidence. Of course, very recently, by language models or language sources have become bigger and bigger and bigger with digitalization and such. And eventually very recently in 2000 or so, first with corpus linguistics in the 90s, but then more and more with the Google word-to-vec algorithm, this was in fact proven to be true. And today, this theory is the basis for NLP applications, natural language processing applications, especially those applications that generate text as an output. So even just to give you a very wide overview, speech recognition, of course, machine translation. If you have worked with this particular technology, parts of speech tagging, so in a text, you just try to tag each word based on the function that the word carries in the particular sentence. And when you digitize, also optical character recognition to minimize errors in the rendering, the digital rendering, handwriting recognition, grammar induction, information retrieval, and so on and so forth. I could really continue and continue and continue. What is the problem with language models, though? So indeed, language models have a huge problem, which is data sparsity, because of course, yes, it's true that languages are mostly statistical in their format, in their nature. However, they are also context bound, precisely for the same theory. So obviously not all possible existing word sequences can be ever been observed in training, because it's context bound. Then not all contexts are ever available in any data source, no matter how big. So of course, there will be many false positives and many false negatives in training. So one solution, and I of course put the quotation because it only partially overcomes this problem, is to make the assumption that the probability of a word is not just of a word that depends on the previous words. Again, this is true most of the times, but not always. So if you have ever used automatic fill-in text, when you write a text message, for instance, you will see that most of the time gets it right. He predicts the next word, but not always. Depending on what you want to say, you have to intervene and actually write the message yourself. So GPT, which is a generative pre-trained transformer, that's the acronym there, Jakub, for you and for the audience, of course, is a transformer-based language model. What does that mean? This means that predictions are made by looking at the entirety of the text. So not just at the last word or at the most recent item in the text or in the portion of text that is trying to predict. This is called also selective relevance. So what is the advantage of that? Of course, the advantage of that is that it reduces data sparsity, but also one pro, if you will, is that the machine learns much faster than just using the last item. So the data sets can be used larger and larger, which in turn makes the prediction or the accuracy of the prediction better. And this is why GPT language models are truly huge. If you have ever used those, they are really insanely big. We're talking about, I don't know, terabytes and terabytes of data. There are actually most of them, well, not most of them, but some of these models can be downloaded by Hugging Faces. So this is just to give you an application, sort of an overview of the application, so what, how very loosely referred to how this technology works and why it is so interesting also for the humanities. I'm telling you this in a way, in a minute. So language models in the humanities have been exponentially used in the past 20 years or so. Since the, like I said, the word-to-vec algorithm, I used it myself to find diachronic changes in languages, so how languages change over time using very big language data sources that span, for instance, over 100 years or so. Language models are used also, for instance, for topic modeling, n-grams, and I have to say they are useful technologies. I use them myself, but of course, like with everything, they have limitations. One big limitations of these language models is that they make inferences based on single words. So again, the usual problem. So words are taken out of context because the assumption is that if these words occur in same context, then they must, or at least most of the time, they do refer to similar concepts. For instance, like a word cloud, just so we know what we're talking about. But that's not true all the times, right? Languages are very fluid. They can very malleable. They can be combined in so many different ways. So yes, it does work. Maybe 80% of the times, probably less, but you get a lot that doesn't work. So topic modeling is one of these technologies that attempts to capture a narrative, for instance, so that tries to move beyond the single word inference, like a word-to-vec, for instance, but it has many problems. And I am happy to talk about the many problems of topic modeling if you are more or less familiar with this technology in the question and answer section. But for now, let's just focus on GPT. So why it is so interesting for the humanities, especially for linguists, to use GPT? Because the promise of GPT is that it can move beyond single word inferences, right? Because it looks at the entirety of the text, then it might be able to capture a macroscopic narrative that other technologies, existing technologies based on traditional language models, even a deep neural network, cannot in fact give you. So this is one example of using GPT for inquiry and give you sort of the idea, the general idea of a narrative behind a text. So what I did was to use this data set, which is available online. It's on open source. It's a data set trained on The Sun, which is this British tabloid. And I don't know how much you know about The Sun, but The Sun is known for being sort of a populist, nationalistic, right-wing tabloid, so newspaper. And GPT was trained on this corpus, and I experimented a little bit with it. I asked, what is Brexit? Just to see what kind of resources, what kind of answers I would get. And this is one answer that I got. It is the only way out of the trap. This is the machine answering me. And the other one is a deal dead on the table. And I only got 2 answers here just because I asked the GPT to return me 2 answers, but this can be tweaked, of course. And you can also tweak how many characters you want in your answer. So this looked fantastic to me as just, just to try out. And I was like, wow, this is great, because this is not sort of a copy paste of somebody that said that. The cool bit about the GPT is that this is actually absolutely unique. You can train using my same parameters on the same data set, GPT, and ask the same question, and it will always return unique answers to you. So I was definitely convinced, and I was like, great, now it's time to use it for my own data. And the problems began. So, so this is my, so the data sources that I used. It's called Chronicle Italy 3.0, is available open access. If you want, you're free to use it. We are welcome, in fact, to use it. It's in Italian. And it is the particularity of this resource is that it gathers Italian American newspapers written by Italian immigrants at the turn of the 20th century in the United States. So of course, what are the challenges of using this resource? Well, obviously, it's not pristine data. It's not born digital data. This is data that was in paper, material copies of newspapers. And of course, over 100 years ago, the paper was different, the characters that they used was different. These newspapers for a long time was rotting in some basement, in some libraries, and then they got sort of rescued by this massive digitalization project in the States. What happened? Of course, the paper at the time was sort of deteriorated, and that there were smears on pages. So long story short, the quality is not good. You can still use them for research, but there are loads of OCR mistakes. There are challenges of using these. And then, of course, when they were digitized in microfilming. And then recently they were re-digitized from microfilming with newer technology. So you see these newspapers have undergone many layers of manipulations using different technologies. Many people use these, sort of intervened on these sources. So this data is very challenging for a humanities perspective, actually from a computer science perspective, but for a humanities perspective, these data sets are gems because it's the perspective of immigrants in the United States at the time. They were talking about the struggles in living in the United States as immigrants. So they give you a perspective that is unique in migration studies. So you see, we have already like this huge challenge here. So from no computer scientists will ever think about using these sources for using this technology, but for the many challenges, but for us, they are absolutely fantastic. So like I said, there are loads of problems in using these sources. And of course, one big problem is that it's in Italian. So obviously GPT is trained on English, like most of the tools that are available there. So already there, it's a tragedy. But I like a challenge, and I hope you guys too, you people too. So here we are. So what was my research question to use this? Just very quickly, I wanted to investigate again the general narrative behind these sources. I'm not interested in single word inferences, so I wanted to move beyond these the typical language models technologies, and I want to ask what did these migrants talk about? How did they were talking about? And the collection spans over 30 years. So did their narratives change as they were sort of getting adapted to the surroundings, the environments, American changing society? And because there are almost non-existent records of immigrants' storytelling, I am particularly interested in using this resource and in combining with GPT. Yes, again, and because I consider myself an immigrant myself, and I just happen to be Italian, so I'm particularly also interested in seeing whether their narratives are similar to the narratives that immigrants experience today when living in a foreign country. Okay, so this is what happened here. So I'm gonna exit the presentation now and show you, in fact, the yeah. So the Google. Can you see my my Collab Notebook?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So
you may consider increasing the font size, but maybe
yeah,
okay.
sure, I can.
If we have to reach anything, maybe it will be easier.
It's
but
actually, yeah, it's actually not super. The problem is that as soon as I go to the, I would like to increase that too. I would make it big.
Oh, great.
Better?
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, so there are many parameters that you can tweak when you use GPT. For instance, one parameter is how many. So when let's say at how many points in the training you want to sort of see what the output would be. So in other words, you might want to tweak these parameters if you are interested in having a look at how the model is learning, basically, using your data. And a way to do that is that you ask GPT to generate a sample of text every 500 iterations on the data. So every 500 times, basically, it outputs something. The other parameters can be, everything can be tweaked. It's not perfect in the sense that there is no sort of a recipe list of how to do this. The truth is you just try and try and try different settings every time. And every time you sort of see whether it gets better, whether the outputs get better, and how fast and better, you know, your model is learning. That's it. I mean, the algorithm is learning. That's it. That's all you can do. So it can be quite frustrating at times because you have to do it many times, and because I still haven't properly learned how to run this on the cluster, on the supercomputer cluster. On my computer, of course, it takes forever. So yeah, at some point, I basically just, I was like, all right, it's good enough. So this is one, the first output that I got, it's this. And you can see that it mixed English and Italian. And this is interesting for me, although the actual sort of output doesn't make any sense in Italian. So this is not really a sentence that makes any sense. For me, it's interesting the fact that the algorithm somehow picked up the fact that there is a mix of the two languages in the sources. Yes, I already knew that, but the fact that it combined the two languages in just one sentence for me is interesting, because it might mean that migrants themselves were using both languages, perhaps in the same sentences or in a creative way. So this is interesting for me. It's something that it's worth looking into. And then you would think that at some point, you know, because then this is reached after 1,000 steps. So this one was 500, this is after 1,000 steps. Then you would think that after 1,000 steps, the algorithm learned a bit better. But because of what the algorithm is trained to learn or to identify is mostly the patterns in the whole data set. So what I had as a return was just a series of R. And this is because probably this is some optical character recognition mistake that is in my data set, and it happens over and over again. And of course, this is not very interesting for me. So yeah, okay. And then the second, so the third one was 2,000 steps, and I just got this repetition over and over again. Perché con loro, loro l'Italia, 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 perché con loro l'Italia, 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 l'Italia. Okay, useless. And so on and so forth. So I can tell you that afterwards, so for instance, the 5,000 steps, it stopped outputting OCR mistakes, and it started to give some sort of something that resembled a sentence. Unfortunately, the sentences that output would not really make any sense, but at least we were getting there. So the argument is that perhaps if I tweak the parameters better, perhaps I could get slightly better results, but that's not sure. Then I moved on, although this was not particularly promising. I still wanted to intervene, you know, still wanted to query my model, obviously. And I asked a question, and this is the question that I asked, chi sono I banchisti, which means who are the bankers? And the reasons why I ask this question is because bankers, Italian immigrant bankers, at some point there were this very controversial figure in the immigrant communities that were helping migrants, supposedly, while at the same time taking advantage of them. So this is quite an interesting research question historically. So I wanted to know how aware immigrants were of this sort of controversial role of bankers. So I asked, chi sono I banchisti? And what I got as a result is the first answer, which has nothing to do with bankers at all. And it doesn't make any sense in Italian, so I'm not going even to translate. And then this one is I hope you're not seeing all the messages that are popping up. I don't know. So, and then the other sentence was this one. It's basically the same answer over and over again. For instance, tutti gli altri quali non vogliono essere 5 anni, which doesn't make much sense in Italian, but I could attempt a translation. It means all the others, they do not want to be 5 years. I don't know. So, okay, I'm not going to bother you with all the answers, but long story short, I'm going to ask these and carry on with the presentation. So there are many challenges in using GPT for historical questions on historical data sets. One of the reasons for that is that the GPT was trained on text crawled from the web from 2016. It's quite static in nature. What does that mean? This means that the knowledge of these huge models basically is sort of as a snapshot of how the world was in 2016. And of course, at the time, there was a lot of talk around the Brexit. So that's why I got those super fantastic answers right away. So even if you don't fine tune the algorithm on your own small data set, like the Sun, already they were talking about the Brexit at the time, still you will get good results. But a text from 1920 or 1897, like my data set, obviously it's completely agnostic of that. Then the problem is that, of course, it's in English because the companies that developed GPT intervened manually on the data and made sure that the data set was just in English. So everything that was from other languages was on purpose, intentionally deleted from the data set. Another problem is that most of these text was crawled from Reddit. So very recently, GPT-2 was audited by an external company. And the company found that 67% of Reddit users at the time when GPT was trained self-identified themselves as male. 64 of these users were between the age of 18 to 29, and 70% were white, non-Hispanic. So this means that the language, the concept, the argument, the topics, the things that we're discussing, these people represent mostly English-speaking young white males. This, of course, poses huge challenges because obviously the narratives represent this category. And in fact, further that, at least 12% of these of the news sites that were crawled to train a GPT come from sources of low or mixed reliability. This includes conspiratory sites. Many of the links that come from subreddits today are banned, so later were quarantined or have been just outright banned from the site. So you see, for instance, there was this experiment that asked the first GPT, not GPT-2, but GPT, what is a woman? And the answers were horrific. So the more questions you ask about that, then of course they became more and more sexist, misogynist, offensive language, hate speech, and so on and so forth. So this, of course, poses big challenges, particularly, I mean, for whoever uses this technology, particularly for humanities research. It is true that there have been recent updates on GPT-2. So, for instance, GPT Neo, if you heard about it, that so the creators tried to at least partially overcome this problem. So the core of GPT remains trained on those huge data sets from 2016, but there have been additions. So, for instance, Wikipedia, sources, books, monographs, academic articles, scientific articles. It has been since more effectively and transparently documented compared to the first versions of GPT. GPT-3 and GPT Neo, like I said, supposedly are a bit better. The problem with using GPT Neo is that even the smallest dataset of GPT Neo is still huge compared to the biggest dataset of GPT-2. So you will very quickly run into memory problems if you use GPT Neo. So again, there are many challenges of that. So my open questions are, do you think computer science and machine learning people, audience here, that can we effectively use this technology for historical inquiry? And I tried to fine tune the algorithm on my data, still didn't get particularly good results. Do you think that there are ways beyond the fine-tuning that could actually solve these issues of using particularly challenging sources? Another challenge that I have is preserving the time component when you query the model. So when you feed your dataset into GPT, GPT expects one huge TXT document, for instance. So just lines and lines of text with no metadata. So just literally the language used that you want to investigate. So there is no metadata on, for instance, the author, on the speaker, for instance, speakers involved in the text, the time when that text was produced, the source of where that text is taken from. So if you wanted to also know, for instance, where this narrative comes from, really, and when this narrative was produced, in other words, to historicize your results, you really can't do it with GPT at the moment. And this is really what interests me. I want to have the historical perspective. It's nice to have the overall narrative, but I would also like to have the historical perspective. Of course, you can train the model separately on each slice of time, but it would be rather artificial to just manually sort of cut the time into pieces. So I wonder whether there might be a better solutions for that. And overall, can we trust the results that we get? And finally, of course, the usual problem is it ethical to use this super power hungry technology? And considering the fact that you have to sort of run the training multiple times just to get the perfect parameters precisely fine-tuned on your data set. How ethical is that to use GPT for research in general? And I just want to finish with this quote, which I really love. All these questions are related to this one. When you control someone's understanding of the past, you control their sense of who they are and also their sense of what they can imagine becoming. So considering the mono perspective on the text that GPT has been trained on, like I said, white, male, young, how ethical it is, and can I trust this technology to investigate the past? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorella, for this really interesting talk and thought-provoking. I think it was extremely interesting to all of us, and
I hope so.
for a discussion now. I have some questions as well, but I will leave the the floor for others. So as usually, whoever wants to talk, just you can raise your hand or just switch on your mic. I can see Saurabh is raising his hand, so I'll give him permission to ask. So.
Thanks, Lorella. Thanks for the talk. It was interesting. Can you please go to your slides where you have your challenges mentioned, or?
Yeah, of course. Let me, sorry, you just got me basically drinking. 1 second. Open questions or GPT related challenges?
Yeah, general, I guess.
The general, okay.
Yeah, my very first point was you are using a model that is trained on English to do generative predictions in Italian, right? That's what you're doing.
Yeah, there are actually, I admittedly I failed to do that, but there are GPT models that have been retrained on Italian, and I could download. Well, I tried to, but I ran into 1 million problems. It's probably my limitation, not the model itself. But I know that now, very recently, Italian models have been retrained on the GPT.
Okay. I mean, that can be one of the issues of having problems in the generating proper sentences. And
yeah, that's true. I'm just answering this very quickly. However, the creators of GPT claim that theoretically this should not be a problem for languages that have, in a way, so this should not be a problem in the sense the GPT, even if it's just trained on English, could potentially be used also for translation, for instance, multilingual translations. It is recommended to fine-tuning on your own, obviously, data set always, but they claim that this should not, in theory, be the fundamental problem.
yeah, and about the third point, how can we preserve the time component? I guess usually you create the sequences, and what do you mean by manually? I mean, we let the computer create sequences of, let's say, 3 or 4 words in each. And do you use this? Which framework do you use to train your models? It's TensorFlow, right? From what I saw.
TensorFlow, yeah.
So do you use this dataset API, tf.data.dataset? Do you use something like that? And you can also use prefetching methods, which kind of save your time to give the new data coming, new batch data to the model, and it saves some time.
Wonderful. Oh, okay, great. This is interesting. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I can send you this details.
Oh, that'd be great. Oh, yes, please do it. If you can reach out to me, that'd be great.
Yeah, because it just puts the next data in the queue while the previous data was being trained, so it saves quite some time.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and about the fine tuning, I saw in your model you use, let's say, batch size of 1. Do you have some memory issues because of that you use that, or it's just a number that you choose?
I had loads of memory issues.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and so this is why my parameters were not very good. And I am sure that if I had a more powerful computer, obviously most of my issues would go, and I could probably get better results. I just don't have a more powerful computer. And
I can actually help you setting up the account and the libraries on supercomputer if you want.
I already have the account. I also attended the school just briefly because the pace was way too fast for me. So halfway through, I just had to quit. But if I can get help with that, that would be fantastic. I already have the account and everything.
Okay, yeah, I can help you setting up, installing the libraries and.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
And I earlier saw Eleni maybe had her the hand raised. Is that right? Or I earlier saw somebody else raising their hand. Okay.
Hi, Lorella. This is Eleni. I got a sense, first of all, thank you for this amazing presentation. I really like your topic about that centers around immigrants. I got a sense from your presentation that you are not convinced about the implementation of those methods, not so much because of the difficulty, the technical difficulty, but maybe other factors.
Mm-hmm.
And I have two questions. First, is this true? Are there some, let's say?
No, you're completely right. But
the other question, I guess, is what is the alternative?
There is none at the moment. I would be interested if I had access to a more powerful computer which doesn't run into memory problems after 5 seconds. I would be interested in using a GPT Neo, which is, like I said, this newest version of GPT that promises to overcome most of the problems, the ethical problems and the biases in the first GPT, the first two GPT. So I would be interested in using that first, and then see whether, in fact, with running some tests, whether that actually convinces me. Yeah, I would be interested in doing that. But at the moment, besides these newer versions of GPT, that doesn't seem to be much of an alternative to capture a whole narrative. As far as I know, the technology is still based mostly on single word inferences, which means that basically the scholar has to elaborate and interpret the output of these words and sort of combining expert knowledge, trying to interpret what this narrative seem to mean. So yeah, there is no alternative really.
Have these models ever been, let's say, calibrated against what scholars believe?
Not that I know of. It's my understanding is that GPT has been sort of picked up in the humanities as interesting, potentially interesting, but I don't know any research at all in the humanities that has actually used GPT currently. There is none. Probably it's been writing up at the moment, but there is nothing published currently that uses that. So the reason for that may be either colleagues in the humanities are very skeptical about it, or it's there is a learning curve, obviously, to implement this, especially if you're not a computer scientist. And the other reasons is that they might run into my same issues, right? So, memory problems and things like this. So they would rather not use GPT-2 because it's been quite controversial using it. And this is why. So this is in the humanities is super new. Nobody that I know of is using it. So that's also why I'm super interested in using it, to be in a pioneering and say like, hey, I use it. And that's what happens when you use it. If you are interested in taking up the challenge with me, you are more than welcome.
Thank you so much for your answer. Thank you, and for your talk.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Vasilis, I can see your hand raised.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, Lorella, for your nice presentation. It was very interesting to me, even though I'm from more an engineering background, but I really enjoyed it. I do have a question, basically. So you gave an example in the beginning with this tabloid with Sun from UK. And for instance, if you train a model with Sun, it will tell you basically, Brexit is good, Meghan Markle is bad, and things like that. So that you already know, because you know what this magazine is going to tell you. But when you're trying to analyze, for instance, historical data, do you how can you know that there is no bias in this data? So if you train successfully in the data set that you used for the Italian immigrants, but you don't know the magazine itself, you don't know the newspaper, you don't know the historical context, you will draw some conclusions, hopefully, but how do you know that these conclusions are unbiased, that are actually correspond to reality, or maybe it's just you know, a left view or a right view, or somehow biased in a way?
Right. Thank you. That's a very great, that's a very interesting question. And this is exactly basically what I am interested in. I want, in fact, to sort of expose these biases in my sources. And GPT is great for that because it looks at patterns. You will get these patterns, and most of the time patterns are in fact biases. So in my newspaper collection, Chronically Italy gathers both right-wing and left-wing newspapers. In fact, nationalistic newspapers and anarchic, so quite, you know, really two sides of the spectrum. And so what it's in the literature? Literature suggests that they were, you know, polar opposites, right? They were talking to completely different groups of migrants. Migrants that believed in labor rights, and migrants that actually pushed, I don't know, fascism, because we're talking about Italy at the beginning of the century, right? So, okay. So what I am interested in is in fact to find out to what extent that is true, because very few scholars suggest that actually it's much more complicated than that. And although these views seemed quite polarized at the time, in fact, they were converging many times, which we see this happening today, don't we? Like right wing and left wing. Oh, we fight each other. We believe in completely different things. But actually, when it comes to core issues, I don't know, migration, unemployment, LGBT community, and things like this, actually, the laws that they propose, they're not that different. So the narrative around it that might be actually very similar. And obviously, I'm not going to read 20 million pages, obviously, but if I can find out whether that is true, then GPT might tell me that. Yeah, might actually tell me all the biases that are hiding behind these. I am an anarchic newspaper, I am a nationalistic newspaper. And it would be really interesting to see where those converge and where they differ.
How would GPT tell you something like that? So
I would ask the same question first on the anarchic newspapers collection. And then
so you would train a GPT model only on one newspaper and then only on another one, and you try to find where they converge.
Correct.
Okay. So can you train a GPT model in a balanced data set of both a left wing and a right wing?
This would be, of course, I will have to sort of create the data set myself. I mean, they are already separated in the collection, but there are more data in one than the other. So, but the good thing is that they talk about the same issues because they cover the exact same time period. So they both go. Yeah. So I would really like to ask a set of questions about key topics at the time. For instance, they were discussing whether it was worthwhile for Italy to intervene in the war or not. And of course, anarchic newspapers were saying, not at all, we are against war, we are against the concept of nation in itself. Whereas, of course, the nationalistic one was, of course, Italian pride, that we need to intervene in the war.
Okay.
But I would like to ask questions like this on these two different data sets and see what narratives I get.
Okay. The last comment, and that's it for me. Thank you. And my last comment is, so this requires some kind of pre-processing. So you need to know which newspapers are left wing, right wing, and of course they are in the middle, because it's very easy to distinguish between very far and very left, but you know, there are the middle one or middle towards one or the other. So you need a human. So there is still a bias there, that there is somebody who needs to decide which one is left, which one is right, and in the middle. I
Well,
guess.
yes and no, because these newspapers actually self-identified themselves as clearly whether they were right or left. So, for instance, one newspaper was Cronaca Sovversiva, and that is Subversive Chronicles. So they already identified themselves as being anarchic radical newspaper. So I know for sure where they, that there's not me deciding that. The writers said that, so that helps minimize the biases. But the biases will always be there at some point. So that's just, there is no way around that.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much.
Of course, thanks for the questions. Very interesting.
No problem.
Oh, I think so. Flora just. Okay.
I just privately sent you some useful links.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thanks. I'm gonna copy this, and yeah, because as soon as the call stops, then we lose the chat. So great. Thank you.
Right. May I have one, let's say, a question or comment that links to what you were talking with Vasilis about? That let's say sometimes because what you are analyzing, you're analyzing the discourse, the narrative. I think you are not aiming to, let's say, understand the reality as it was that time. You are only able to analyze the discussion between people, and the newspapers is also a form of such a discussion, because I think when we talk to people, we not only precisely present our thoughts, but we at the same time we also try to influence others in some sense.
Correct.
To get something from others by saying something. So by analyzing this conversation, we are not getting a picture of the reality, but we only get a picture of what we are talking about.
Well, we are getting a picture of the reality that the readers were given. So even if it's just one writer that writes that, those newspapers had millions in reach. We're talking about 4 million Italians living in America at the time. These newspapers were really important in every stage of an immigrant life, because they were factually their only link to the motherland. So if I can see what sort of a version of reality they were given, perhaps I could also understand why some groups of migrants decided to intervene in the war. Some left the United States to actually fly back to Italy to enroll, and while some others decided to stay in the United States, and they were basically declared traitors and things like this. So by sort of seeing the reality that they were given, these choices might make more sense.
I see. So it is like the newspapers are so, let's say, influential that actually what is presented in the newspapers could be to some extent taken as what people thought at that time.
Yeah, which is more or less what still happens, isn't it? It's my research is basically the influence the media has on society. So this is the focus of my research. So it's I just want to see historically what that meant for immigrants.
And also, I have a question about interpreting the outputs of these models. Let's say that we have completely opposite points of view, like a newspaper that is right, and then the second one is left-wing newspapers. And then let's suppose that we are training our model on both data sources. And then what do you expect to get as an output? Something in between? I mean, and if you get something in between, does it make any sense to
well, if I train on both these
Yes.
both the sources at the same time?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know how much sense that would make, because of course, I could try as a comparison to see sort of on the whole the migrant community, what sort of narratives they were constructing. This could be interesting, but because my interest is of course in obviously political views and propaganda made by media. I would like to see whether different narratives, how different narratives were constructed in different data sources. So it would make more sense to train those separately, perhaps, and maybe as a comparison also together, just to see what results I get.
But is there any risk that, let's say that to make a picture in a different discipline, like you train one model on humans and another model on horses, and both of them work perfectly well, and they can create different versions of horses and human. But then you train a model on both, and then what can you get? You can get a creature with three legs, maybe, or maybe partially a horse and human with human head, or something like this. So,
well, I would.
Can it be like that with the data?
Well, obviously, we're still talking about different variation of the same community. Obviously, it's not a different species. I mean, they were all migrants after all, and there is no reason to assume that the migrants that they were reading newspaper A were not also reading newspaper B. There is no way to assess that. And in the collection, I also have newspapers that self-declare themselves as politically independent. So it would be interesting to mix that also, put that in the mix, and see on the whole the migrant community, what sorts of narratives they were getting. So I would also be interested in that, actually.
I see. Wow, very nice.
Great.
And then, were there any problem with this translation? Because you mentioned, I remember when we were talking the other day, you mentioned that there are some techniques to use these GPT models that are trained on the English sources to be used for the Italian, for instance. And how technically is it working? Like, are there any automatic translators that first translate the Italian text to English, then use GPT and then translate it back to Italian, or
yeah, I haven't used it. Yeah, I haven't used it for translation because my sources are already in Italian, so I can already query in Italian. So I haven't used it for that. Yeah, this could be interesting, but my first problem is to find a way to use GPT, the Italian GPT, on my sources, and for that I need some technical help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I cannot see other questions. So, and it's 11, so we should be slowly finishing.
We took the full hour.
I can see a link from Sorab on the chat, so you can consider copying.
I already
okay,
copied
great.
everything.
Right. So thank you so much, Lorella, for very nice presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for interesting discussion.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I hope we will stay in touch with some of the people here and we can help one another. So thank you so much. Have a good day, and
you too.
See you next time at the Machine Learning
Seminar. Absolutely, you will. All right. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks all. Bye.
I will write to for the setting up the HPC.
Sorry?
I will write you regarding setting up the.
Oh yes, please do. Yes, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. Great.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.